The mounted police in Mannheim are in training. The horses have to cope with extreme stress for minutes at a time and stay cool in the process. It takes years until they reach that point, because actually their instinct is to leave the scene of trouble.
Come here, come. Here, fine. Mal ganz schön, ja? Gut.
Michael Günther is on a special mission. The mounted officer from Mannheim has been looking for a new horse for his unit for quite a while. That's not easy, because few animals are suitable for this unusual job, and he can't spend more than a few €1,000. Michael recently discovered Lester, a 5-year-old gelding in these private stables. He wants to give him a thorough check today, because Lester could be what he's after.
We looked at several horses, and we've tried several out. They should have a certain size. A horse of 1.60 meters would be too small. We're looking for 1.80 meters and above. It has to be healthy, have good hooves, and be trusting of humans straight away, just like this one.
Und dann muss auf alle Dinge gesund sein, gute Hufe haben.
He mustn't startle when you move quickly, and he mustn't run away.
Darf nicht gleich erschrecken, wenn man jetzt sich mal ein bisschen schnell bewegt, dann darf er nicht gleich zurückrennen oder.
Lester's got all these fundamental requirements.
Dem treffen eigentlich alle Eigenschaften zu, die die Grundvoraussetzungen sind.
We can teach him all the other aspects over time.
Das Reiterliche, das kann man ihm dann alles noch beibringen im Laufe der Zeit.
Michael is excited about this young horse. Just an hour later, the deal is done, and Lester's on his way to nearby Mannheim. The mounted police unit is based on an old farm on the outskirts of town. 18 police officers and their horses are stationed here. Police horses have been around in Mannheim for more than 100 years. From now on, Lester will be one of them. It's 7 o'clock next morning. Lester's had a good night in his new stable. Michael is here already, looking after his new protege. All the mounted police officers have to participate in looking after the horses and mucking out the stables. The intensive occupation with the animals outside of police operations is important and strengthens the bond between horse and rider.
This is all about having contact with the horse, because that builds a relationship. Cleaning the horse is particularly important, because when they're in a herd, they nibble each other. The rider replaces that by working on the horse with a brush and curry comb.
Lester is clearly enjoying this pampering. Even though everything here is new to him, he seems calm and relaxed.
It's important that the horse lets me reach for his head and doesn't move away. That demonstrates a certain amount of trust in human beings.
Lester will have his first training session in the morning. Michael is responsible for gently preparing new arrivals for their future missions. Police horses mustn't be scared of anything.
Hallo. Komm mal her. Da komm. Ja, was ist? So. Komm, geh mal mit. Komm. Komm her. Komm her. Jawohl.
Since horses are naturally curious, they want to see what that is. With a young horse, it doesn't work the way it does with him now. Of course, if I were to wave a flag, I think he'd run away, so I'm not even going to try that now. He has a few more weeks for that.
The mounted police need horses with nerves of steel, like Lester. They receive special training to get used to things that seem threatening so that they don't take fright anymore. That's important because police horses are used at demonstrations and football matches where the environment is often noisy and aggressive. Horses are flight animals. Without this training, they would run away at the slightest commotion.
We're going to try something completely new, something he's never seen before, namely the ball. This is the natural reaction. When something comes from behind, he kicks. As part of our training, we get the horses to the point where things like this don't frighten them anymore, and they behave quite normally.
The young gelding has got over the small fright. A short while later, he even uses the unfamiliar object to play with. That's exactly how a future police horse should react. The trainer is very taken with his new protege.
To repeat, this is his first encounter with the ball. It's great to watch him with it.
Lester seems to have very good qualities, but the experienced trainer knows that even with a horse like this, things can quickly get too much.
You can't rush things with young horses. You always have to be patient. You can't set a time frame by which the horse must be trained. That doesn't work. It could be to the detriment of the horses. That's why we take a lot of time to train them, because we want them to serve us for a long time. Gandhi is 21, and that's a ripe old age for a horse that's working every day.
Old Gandhi is being prepared for the day's work just a few meters away. He's to go on patrol in Mannheim's town center today. He's being ridden by 26-year-old Bianca Heiliger, who's only been in this unit for a few weeks. She's just gathering her first experiences as a mounted officer.
Gandhi, komm.
She has respect for today's job.
This is something completely new for me. I've not been on patrol in the city center before. It's always a bit exciting because it's the first time.
Markus Heisler will lead the patrol today. He chose Gandhi for her.
The most important thing is that the young colleague gets an experienced service horse. We've got horses of all ages here. When we get a new young colleague, she needs a very safe horse. Gandhi is one of our oldest horses and our safest horses. He's not bothered. He's good for jobs like this.
A short while later, the two officers set off on their horses. Going on a mounted patrol in the town center or the outskirts of Mannheim is part of the unit's normal duty. The officers and their horses are also used for searches in the area or to guard the American barracks.
Der Peter 546, Reiterstreife, Bereich Innenstadt.
Some patrols nearby the officers do on horseback straight from the stables, but the town center is several kilometers away. For that, they need a transporter. Bianca Heiliger is feeling a bit nervous because today is only her third patrol as a mounted officer. She knows that Mannheim's town center can be particularly stressful for horses. It's very confined, and the sensitive animals have to cope with a lot of noise, crowds, and traffic without panicking. But the young woman trusts the great routine of her horse.
I'll just see what happens because this is all new for me. Of course, I always want to get home safely. I don't want anything to happen. I have a certain influence on the horse, but I'm not really thinking too much about it. I've been on mounted patrol a couple of times before. I've got to know him a bit. We'll manage.
The aim of the mounted patrol in Mannheim's town center is to show a presence and deter potential criminals. They can be seen from far away by police on horseback. At the same time, the officers get a good view of the surrounding area. After half an hour, Bianca's got more used to riding between the tram and the pedestrians. Having such an experienced warhorse under the saddle is very reassuring. Horses in the pedestrian zone. Most of Mannheim's residents think it's a good thing, but some do wonder what the point of it is.
Of course, some wonder why we bother with horses. They say they're unnecessary in this day and age. Most of the people who say that don't know that horses get used for demonstrations and major events. They think we're just riding here on patrol, and someone could do that on foot or in a vehicle.
The police officers quickly get in touch with the population through the animals. Wherever they stop, they're immediately surrounded. Michael Günther isn't at all satisfied with Sandor. The 4-year-old gelding has already been in training for a year. Sandor has shown over time that he doesn't have the nerves a good police horse needs. Even familiar things like being shod, which is necessary here every 6 weeks, could startle him. Sandor is so stressed that on bad days, normal sounds from the environment can unsettle him. Today, it's the engine noise of the transporters.
He reacts very strongly to the environmental influences around him. I don't think he'll ever be a police horse. Most of the work we do is going on patrol in the town center, and I can't imagine Sandor walking peacefully along like the other horses when a tram arrives from behind, with cyclists and cars all around.
Und ich kann mir nicht vorstellen, dass der Sandor friedlich wie unsere anderen Pferde durch die Fußgängerzone marschiert, wenn von hinten Straßenbahnen kommen.
That's just too dangerous for him.